Welcome to A Pearl in Every Cowslip's Ear. This series was recorded here in our classroom with actual students. You just get to listen in. We are using Christian Light Education's curriculum. This is Language Arts 4, Book 1. Okay, Grade 4, Lesson 2. We're going to start by doing a little bit of review. And so, what are the 3 steps for following directions? Call it out if you know. If you're going to follow directions, you need to first of all
listen.
Listen, good. First of all, pay attention. Listen is good. What's another thing you could do?
Understand the directions.
Make sure you understand the directions. Also, watch the speaker. That would be kind of like paying attention and listening. So, mainly pay attention, watch the speaker, be sure that you understand. What do we use to communicate to other people? What's the word for what we use to communicate? What tool do we use to communicate?
Language.
Language, by speaking. Good. You could also communicate by just motions, even you say. Everyone knows what that means, or everyone knows what that means. So there are actual other things that are almost, but is this a language? It's kind of like sign language. Sign language is using your hands to speak. So it's not just speaking. Language is actually, maybe is more than that, just the communicating that we do today to each other. But you can communicate also with things like signs. If I hold up a big stop sign, it would communicate stop to you. That's what it communicates to all the cars that are going down the road. They're communicated, oh stop, oh yield. Now we can go. Things like that can be communicated. Okay, going into the new lesson, I brought some nice science books for you guys because we're going to talk about 2 big words in today's lesson, and those 2 words are index and glossary. If you look with me in the back of this science book, page 496. If you go to page 496, you will see what's called an index. The index has a list of most of the words that are in this science book. So if you're thinking, I want to learn about the moon, does this science book talk about the moon anywhere? Let's look, see what page number we could find the moon on. If you look, M-O-O. There you go, you said 504. Just wait, I'm not quite there.
505.
Moon? 505? Mine says moon, it would have 95 and 96. 90, let's see. Yeah, over here. 95 and 96, and it gives a whole list of pages and that you could find the moon on. So you could find the moon on 95, 96, 238, 377. So if you would turn to those pages, you would learn about the moon. Do you think that this has all the times the science book ever uses the word moon? Nah, probably not. It's just most of the times that the word moon, or times when this science book is actually talking about the moon, it's listed in an index. So the index is a list of most all of the words that are in a book, or the main words, the subjects that the book talks about. And so if you want to say, where could I find about liquid? You could see there on the thing where it has liquid, and it gives page 114 and 118, it talks about liquid. I'm sure it talks about liquid other places in the book as well, but those are the main places. So the index is a place you go to find where a word would be in a book. So that's one kind of thing that we have listed at the back of the book. There's also, if you turn to a little bit before the index, back to page 472, is another list of words that are in this book. Now this is called the glossary. And the glossary is kind of like a mini dictionary tacked in the back of the book. It has what words in this book mean. So if you're reading along in a book, in the science book, and you're reading, you come to something like the Appalachian Divide. You say, what is the Appalachian Divide? I don't know what that really is. You could look in the glossary in the back of the book, and this says Appalachian Divide. It says it's a noun. It shows you how to say it. And it says it's the eastern boundary of the Mississippi River system. And that will help you understand what an Appalachian Divide is. So the glossary is actually a list of words, what words mean. And I believe that in the back of your light unit, you have a glossary. Let's see if there's one there. Glossary, there it is, page 63. So there it's giving you the words and what those words mean. So if you come across a word in your lesson, a big bold-faced word, and you're not sure what it means, it will possibly be there in the glossary. So we use glossaries to tell us what the words mean. Index tells us where the word could be found. Okay, great. Two more things yet before we finish. One is this little word in the English language, the word the. Is there any other way to say this word? The. We can also say the. So when do we say the and when do we say the with this sound and the with a schwa sound? When do we say the and when do we say the? The rule is if the next word starts with a vowel, the apple or the dog. So this starts with a consonant, we're going to use the sound. This starts with a vowel, we use the E sound. Do you always say, I picked up the apple from the tree? I think sometimes I might say, I picked up the apples. I probably use it incorrectly. But on some things, the eternal God, the eternal God. Yeah, it's better to use the E sound, and especially when we sing, then we always make in English, you always make a very clear E sound if it comes before a vowel. If there's a consonant that comes next, then you use the sound. And then, the last part is the penmanship, and I'm going to show you how they say to make an overcurve and an undercurve. So in your penmanship today, you're learning some curves. I hope you've already done these curves, and possibly you have. But the first curve is an overcurve. It's one where we kind of come arcing up and curl a little bit at the top. And the overcurve is used for letters such as the capital A. The capital A actually has a bit of a... One way of doing the A would have a big overcurve. Is that how you make a capital A?
No.
In cursive? Or do you just go like this?
Yes.
I think often you just go like that. That's an A. So let's stick with the small ones. The small one, like a little A, you put this nice overcurve in. And then you go A like that. Or a G. The overcurve is that swirl up and just curves a little bit. And then the down curve is the curve that comes down and swirls a little bit. So this one, they're very similar. This one kind of has a hook on the top. The down curve has a hook more on the bottom. And the down curve is used in words, in letters such as D. So D will have both an overcurve here, down curve here, and then it goes back up to make the stop, and the letter D. But the overcurve would be this first part. The down curve is this that comes down more straight and then curves tightly on the bottom. Why use such fancy things such as overcurves and down curves and things like that? Well, it's just a fancy way of saying, get your hand used to making these motions. Such a nice, so you can go a nice curve. And when you come down, you make a nice curve. So that when you write in cursive, you can write very nice and neatly. Nice, more nicely and more neatly than what I wrote for you. Okay, that covers it for today's lesson. You can carry on with your work.